And then some of you already know me, so I got the military background. I'm an on-time type of guy. So I'm going to start right now. We are expecting several more to jump on. There's about 60 to 70 signed up, and right now we have about probably 25 on, which is great. Everyone's busy. So I want to thank you first off for joining us for the Wellness Champion Academy. This is something we've done every year. We probably started about 4 or 5 years ago. It's really something to kind of get folks off the ground that may or may not have done wellness, or some that have done wellness and really want to get few more nuggets in there. For those that don't know me, I'm Travis Horn. I've been with Borslow Insurance for coming on 12 years now. I've been doing wellness for years. Also with me is Michelle Yasika. I got to say it right, Michelle. I'm always going to screw that one up. But she's been with us for a year now, coming up on a year. Yay. She's really the backbone of doing the day-to-day and helping to get clients and prospects and anyone that's looking for wellness off the ground and moving forward, because it's not an easy thing, as if you're on this call. And so, from a day-to-day perspective, I kind of just want to give you, for those that don't know me, I'll give you kind of the background, kind of how we work with clients, but also how things that I've done in the past. And really the idea behind today is to bring you through the role of a wellness champion, and then really guide you and give you kind of next steps on what you can be within your organization, because every organization is different. For me, I started out a really long time ago, back when I went in the Marine Corps, and someone said to me, I really need you to help these guys. It was guys at the time, because I was in the Marine Corps, and I was 18 years old, and it was just a bunch of individuals that were overweight and couldn't run, and they needed help. So they threw me into it. They brought me into working out with them every Tuesday and Thursday, and I became deemed that individual that was just kind of help people to maintain, lose weight, and that type of stuff. And from there, I went to college for it, community health education. I was at the White House, helped build the White House Athletic Center for for some years, and worked there with them. And then I landed with Blue Cross Blue Shield. Worked with the medical carrier side, so that's kind of the background there. And then the medical insurance piece, I was with Health Trust. If some of you may know Health Trust in New Hampshire, I was actually with them for several years before I landed with the brokerage world. The brokerage world I love it. I can really work with clients really individually and help to, myself and Michelle, we can, work with you to kind of help build what you have in place. So, the role of being a wellness champion, it is a hard role. I will start there, because there's no right answer, and everybody's different. Every client we work with is different. Every business is different. Every school is different. I know schools are usually similar in how they do things, but they're all different. And I know it. I've seen it over the years. And so when we go in, we have conversations about, well, what do we do for wellness? There's never a scripted answer. It's really trying to figure out, well, where you at, and kind of, where's your business at? Where's your school at? Where do you want to go? And kind of having those conversations. And so hopefully today, the objective, honestly, will be to talk about these agenda pieces. I'm going to go into depth more so with kind of your role. I think that's the bigger piece to this, but I also want to hit on the pillars, what they are, because honestly, back in the day when I started doing wellness, it was walking outside. It was, everyone remembers the pedometer, right? The pedometer, those that didn't want to use it would put it on the dog, and the dog would just run, right? And so you'd get your steps that way. But that was kind of the start, and we, even way back when I personal trained, it was just about being physically active, and pillars have become the extension or the tentacles of what wellness really was then, and now looking at well-being and how you can kind of adjust it within your business. And then we'll talk about workplace well-being. What is it? What does it mean? How can you put it into your workplace? Every workplace is different. I'm going to use Borslow as the catalyst of how to put a wellness workplace program in place, because it's not easy in Borslow either. and I'll kind of give you kind of what we've done, where we've come from, where we've gone, so you can kind of see that piece of it. And again, it'll probably give you some nuggets of information, knowledge to kind of help you with yours. We'll talk about your role. Some of you on the call, you may have been put in this role. Some of you may have volunteered for this role. Some of you, it's just a part of your job. And so my opportunity here is to help you understand how to do your role better and to really build on that and to make it even more impactful. Because the idea is it's a journey. Wellness is a journey. It's not something you can just put in place and it happens. Wellness is a journey over time. And those that are doing it have to be really passionate about getting employees engaged and healthy and well. And so that's the bigger piece, is knowing that you have a passion for it, or even if you don't have a passion for it, well, how do you do it to make folks around you have a passion for it? Because that's the harder part. And then the last, few pieces we'll go through is we'll, look at our workbook. So again, as I mentioned, if you have a workbook, if you can print it out, fine. If you can't print it out, have something just to write on so you can write some things down, because we'll do some kind of brainstorming and help you out on that side of things. From a in-house perspective, if you have questions, raise your hand. Michelle is on, she'll stop me and can ask the questions. Or if you just want to blurt out a question, I'm fine with that too. It doesn't matter to me. I'll adjust as we go. Happy to answer anything. Happy to help guide and give you some knowledge and help you in that direction. Lastly, we'll go over the Borzone Insurance. We have tools in our house, so we can kind of help you with the tools and resources that we utilize. I will highlight some organizations that I work with, that Michelle and I work with pretty closely, that have some great details in the back end, resources, campaigns, all that good stuff. And then we'll be done. So I'm gonna imagine probably about 40 minutes, 35 more minutes, and we'll be able to wrap things up. All right, so the 4 pillars. What are the 4 pillars? So again, I mentioned it. Wellness always was about physical, and that was just being, active outside. That was a big thing when it came to the 4 pillars, before the 4 pillars. Now with the 4 pillars, the trends are in the industry, and the industry is moving towards really focusing on not just one side of the house, but 4 different sides of the house. Now, if you've been in wellness for a little bit, you'll understand that there's a lot of different pillars out there. So we've narrowed ours to 4, which is physical, mental, social, and financial. There are some that focus on a few other things. You've probably seen some wheels that have, 4 or 5 or 10 different items on there that you can focus on. They're all good. Really what you're trying to do with these different pillars is you're trying to find a behavior change. You're trying to, have an employee really want a behavior change and move to that next level for themselves. And within the culture of the business, you're also trying to move the business. And so there's 2 different, ways of looking at this. You can either look at it from an employee perspective, or you can look at it from a business perspective, and that's the culture. They all mesh together, and getting to the same point is what your overall goal should be. So physical health is really what I talked about. It's movement, it's nutrition, sleep, preventative care. So, examples, a lot of our schools, I'll give, shout outs, they do the health fairs, and they have biometrics come in, you have blood pressure, individuals come in and do that. And they're really focused on an individual from a health perspective, the medical claims perspective, and that side of the house. That's something everyone knows and has done for years. And so then the branch came when, I'll give it, is right before COVID, but really when COVID hit. And that's really where we started to focus on the mental performance of employees. And I say mental performance, because it isn't always about mental health. Sometimes it's just about not being able to sleep. I'll give some shout outs to some employees, excuse me, in Borzone Insurance. Megan, she's all about sleep and sleep management, and she understands the value of sleep management. And so that can be a lot that rolls into the mental performance of an employee. So huge. This is like, I put double star. I'll start 5 times. If you have kids, the A++, right? And put that out there, with mental health being the #1 focus, or mental performance. The third one that came in really with COVID, and Borzone has hit this wall a few times, but we've realized how to get around the wall, or at least climb over the wall, is the social connection piece. Social connection really is, everyone needs it. back in the day, it's not too far long ago, by the way. Back in the day, it was really about being in the office. You go in the office, you're 9 to 5 in a school, right? When you're going to school and your faculty and staff are in school, there's really a time period, and a lot of that still occurs with the school districts, but not as much with everyone that's in all the different businesses that we're in. So social connection is huge when it comes to feeling like you're belonging, a part of the culture, feeling like there's inclusion there, like you're into it, and you're involved in the community and the engagement in the community. It's just been a lot of changes over time. So the businesses that we work with, there's that social piece that needs to be really focused on, because there are people working from home. Right now I'm in my house, in my office, working from home, and I will go to the office once every 2 weeks, once a month, just to connect with those folks around me. So we'll talk about that quite a bit. We'll get in depth about that, some different ways that you can do some social connection pieces. And then the last one, I'll give it the double star, not so much a triple star, would be the financial stability. It's one that has bubbled up over the years. I've seen a lot with the trends in the marketplace with wellness, and that is it's understanding financial literacy. A lot of people ask, what's financial literacy? It's understanding medical claims. It's understanding your medical claims, understanding your 401k. It's understanding your, how to track your bills. It's understanding what is 401k or what is an HSA. There's so many acronyms in the world of medical insurance that a lot of times we just lose sight of and have no idea what they mean. What's an FSA? And I could go down the trail, and most of you on the call are probably HR folks and HR professionals. So you understand, what all that is, but the employees, and I can see it. I can't even see you right now. And I can see everyone on the call just going, yeah, they just don't get it. They don't understand. But it's just the fact is there's so much going on in the financial piece of it. Double star, like that is a piece that a lot of our clients are focused on, because out of the pillars, mental performance and financial is really the two big nuggets right now that we're trying to address. So then moving into the workplace again, so the academy is about not so much giving you how to do it, but more some ways to educate you on ways we've seen it done. And when I say seen it done, I'm talking about putting programs, initiatives, really putting the culture of health and well-being into your business or school or whatever, wherever you're from. Because the important piece is it's a journey, like I said, but it's also trying to figure out where to start, because you need a starting point, and being able to figure out from the starting point, what are the next steps you have to do. The one thing I always say to Michelle, and she's going to laugh right now because she knows I'm going this way, is it's a puzzle. Wellness is a puzzle. It's one of those things where you have all these things, and the next slide I'll show you from a Borzol perspective how the puzzle looks. But in wellness and well-being, it's about understanding your path, which really I'm going to talk about educate, engage, and execute. That's your path. But within that path, you've got a 10,000, I wouldn't go that route, I'll go 5,000 piece puzzle. There's all these pieces within your business, and then externally outside of the business. And you got to take all those pieces and make it into a nice flowing puzzle, so that everyone within the business, within your school, can kind of see the culture and see how it's driving forward and the purpose behind a culture of health and wellness or health and well-being. And I can be honest, an example I can give you is, it was probably my first time in health and well-being with Borzol Insurance. And I went to one of our clients at the time, and I walked into their lobby. I remember walking in the lobby like it was yesterday, because I looked to my left, and it was a smaller business. It was probably like 50 employees. And I looked to my left, and I remember seeing on the wall these plants, just a bunch of plants, kind of all the way up and down the walls. And I was like, oh my God, interesting, right? First impression. On the right side of it, I remember seeing cartoon pictures of each of the employees, 50 of them or whatever it was, on the wall of each one of them. They all had their cartoon pictures. So as I walked in, I then started to see the culture, and I was hit in the face with what their culture was. They had already created this culture of health and well-being, but it had nothing to do with walking programs. So what they did was they, and I'll give you kind of lowdown on how they moved it, was they educated their employees. They provided them with calendars, which, we have calendars that you can utilize, and I can share them with you so you can see. So they had their calendar of wellness. Everyone, should, or if you don't, you should have one at least. So it kind of gives you a starting point. And within that calendar, they would educate. It would be heart health 1 month. There would be obesity or nutrition another month. They would be focused on flu shots another month. So they would educate based on that. So it was pretty easy to follow the path. The engagement piece that they had to figure out was, well, how do they get the culture to a place where they can really thrive and everybody feels that they're empowered in that culture? And the way they would do it was they would give everyone kind of a piece of the wellness culture that they were doing. And so one person would do the pictures, one person would decorate the wall. They would have one person that would do different things within the business that would be focused on culture of health and well-being. And then they would all come together as a committee and they would execute. And I would say, out of all three of these, education's easy. It's low-hanging fruit. It's easy to do because, especially in the businesses you're in, schools, whatever it is, there's always a piece of education that you're focused on. And as HR folks, and most of you probably are, and it. There's benefits, those are education, right? There's the wellness pieces that kind of underline from your medical carriers, a Blue Cross or Harvard Pilgrim. There's a ton of education that we provide. So you're either getting that, or if you're not with us, then there's opportunities within your broker that they have. Your 401k has tons of education that you can integrate. So easy to do from that perspective. It's the engaging piece that is where the rubber hits the road, as they say, right? And that is trying to engage folks within your ecosystem that have like-minded wants and needs. And really what we've done, and I'll share with the Borzolo world, is we've been able to take the people within our business that love wellness. They have nothing to do with wellness in their business life. They're out in sales, they're client consultants, they're leadership, and they don't really care about wellness from the business side of the house, meaning it's not their focus every day. They care about it, but it's not their focus, but they really want to be involved in it. And so we engage them, which helps engage our culture. And then what we do is we focused on each within individuals. We execute. It's exactly what this business did. And they did it in a way that it really helped. Every time someone walked in the door, they knew who the business was. So from a Borzolo perspective, same concept, right? I'm just going to share the wheel, and some of you have probably seen this. Some of you may have not seen this, but this is the one. This is the wheel of Borzolo Insurance. We call it the wheel because there's just so many opportunities on it for clients, and by the way, for Borzolo employees. So that's where I'll use it from an education perspective. We internally, because we have a health and well-being department, we educate all our employees internally, just like we do with clients. So our employees internally feel the same that our clients do, but what they're getting is they're getting newsletters. They're getting educational pieces that we're getting from sites that are well-known, like CDC. If you haven't written it down or you don't know them, I would tell you to write down Wellness Alliance. Wellness Alliance is a new site. It isn't really new. They've come together with Wellcoa, which is the old wellness world that we used to live in. Wellness Alliance has really stepped up their game. They're offering a lot of tools, a lot of resources, a lot of webinars. Education is an important piece that you can offer to employees, and they can do it. Another one is, write it down if you can, Worksite Wellness Council of Massachusetts. They're not really Massachusetts based. They just call themselves that because that's where they started. They're actually on the East Coast, so they're very well integrated with a lot of businesses, and they have a lot of educational tools that you can utilize, and resources and ways to kind of educate yourselves. And then the third one I would say from an education perspective is the Wellbeing Think Tank. Wellbeing Think Tank is a West Coast business. They're all 501c3s, nonprofit, so you can imagine they're all volunteer. But there's ways for you to kind of integrate yourselves into their businesses and get a lot of details and information about wellness and how to run your culture from a health and well-being perspective. Because really what you're trying to do is how do I do this? How do I do it? And so from Borzolo perspective, we tap into all these different wheels. Not so much all of them, but I can give you from a risk management side of the house, at the top right. We have data because we're partially self-funded as well. So we have data that we can look into. So we're looking at that data to see, where the claims, are they high? And back back issues? You know, is it high, you know, with weight management issues? Is it high with, you know, this type of PBM? You know, there's a lot of different ways to look at it from a data point perspective. Now, you may not be self-funded, you may be fully insured. It doesn't matter. There's always ways to get data from your employees. One way that most of our clients do it that are not self-funded is surveys. And I know surveys can be overwhelming sometimes, but you know, for instance, we do a survey with clients called Well 360. It's a survey that just really asks about the culture. It's one that HR does. There's one that you can do that is just employee based, and the employee based ones will really help. The last way I would do it from an education perspective is figuring out, you know, having conversations, because we know who the employees are. I'll go right to certain employees in Borzone Insurance, and I'll have the conversations like, what are you seeing? How you feeling about this? You know, what's the word on the street that's negative? What's positive? And kind of working it from there. And then from an engagement perspective, so we go to all these different wheels. We use ourselves, we use the risk management, we absolutely use retirement and 401k within compliance. We don't use them so much, but you know, they're the Medicare solution area. You know, he works with a lot of our parents that are in that zone, and it's just ways to be able to gravitate to what they offer. Obviously, we're going to HR. I'm going to Amy, and I'm saying, hey, what do we have for benefits that we should be offering and educating employees on? Education, number one. It's a place everyone has to start. Some of you may already be there and past that point, and you're like, Travis, move on. So I'm going to move on. The engage piece, that is another piece where it's hard. It's not low-hanging fruit. It's difficult to get people to engage. You know, the one person, and she knows I'm going to use her because I tell her all the time, Susan Bovair, and she's been with Borzone for years. Wonderful woman, love her to death. But there was a time with Susan and I, we had that conversation of, well, how come we won't do our wellness program? And she'd be like, it's not my thing. You know, I just don't want to. And then, you know, 3 to 5 years ago, I had the same conversation with her, and Susan does it every day now. So the reason why I'm telling you this, not everyone's going to engage in wellness. Let me just put that out there right now. It doesn't happen. 30% is average for engagement for employees within a business. I don't care what size you are. If you get to 50, unbelievable. You do have to remind yourself that these people are just doing it on their own time. Most of the time, individuals are not getting rewarded for it. And when I say rewarded, usually it's a money thing that people want. Big businesses will give a little bit more money. Borzone Insurance, we have a small budget. So we don't give our employees really any money for doing wellness. Really, ours is about recognition, which is a piece of it. It's about, on the back end, I'll give you an engagement piece. Michelle, she pushes out on a regular to our employees, just little, hey, how you doing? Hey, happy, I hope you're having a great day. And it's from the, our Nurture Your Nature committee. So, we've called our whole committee in Borzone Insurance Nurture Your Nature. And so we have a little committee, there's 10 of us. And it's about engaging them in little ways that you can engage them. And then starting the culture from step 1 to step 2 to moving up. And then the execution piece in Borzone is really sitting down and planning. We strategize. We have a meeting once a month, and at that meeting, we have an agenda. We have someone who runs the meeting. We have someone who every quarter, it's their responsibility to move that initiative, that program, whatever it is, forward so that it can go out into the business and people can engage from that point. It isn't always effective, but because there's no money involved, but it's a little way to change your culture. And so, when I think of one of them that I have coming up, I'll just give you an example. I'll be leading one in fourth quarter, and the fourth quarter one that I'm leading, I have to execute, is really, I'm going to pay $2 out of my own pocket to get on this gaming app that you can do. And you get on the gaming app and you can do Christmas type games with folks, and you can do it right on your screen. You can hook it up to your screen, and we'll do a 30-minute call, social on a call, and have people get on. So very simple things that don't cost a lot of money, and I'm trying to keep it simple because not everyone has a budget. I understand that, but at Borzone we don't have a big budget. We just have a lot of passionate people, and that right there is the one way. If you want to get this off the ground and move it forward effectively, you have to find the passionate people, because not everyone on this call, it's not your thing. And some people it may be, But if you're on this call, I'm going to assume you're either been put in a position and you probably don't have a job description. You've just been said, hey, be a wellness champion, or you're really passionate about it and you want to drive things forward. And if you have a little bit of passion about wellness, or if you don't, getting a team together is the way you need to go to move it forward. Strength in numbers. That's kind of the way I always look at it. So let's talk about your role. Let's kind of move into your role and what your role is. So I'm going to give you a reality check, right? Reality check is, and I'm going to steal this from Mark Gagne. He's going to be, if he's on the call, which I doubt, but if he is, I had to steal it. It is what it is. Wellness champions, you're all wellness champions. You wear cape, and it's not something that anybody sees. Your cape is invisible. Sometimes they see it, sometimes they don't. You're not in it because you want to be recognized. You're in it because you have a passion for wellness or well-being, or you have a passion for getting your employees healthy and well and engaging them in some form of health and wellness. So congratulations to you. And it's not an easy task. I used to think wellness was the easiest thing in the world. And then I got into wellness and I've been in it for years. And now I know it's not. It's the hardest thing because you're selling wellness. You're selling how to be well. And some people don't want to be well. They just want to do their own thing. But it's on you to be the motivator. You've got to lead the well-being. You've got to find the tools, and you've got to really write out the clear expectations. And that's not easy to do. So again, congratulations to you for being on the call, taking the first step, because this is not an easy role for anyone. Because you and I both know, because most of you are HR, this is you, right? You do it all. You're the mecca of wellness. You're also the mecca of HR. You're also the mecca of the business. And it's just one more role that you're trying to fit in. And to be able to do it, I am a big proponent, and I do this with the team and with the committee. We sit down and we define what is the role of the committee? What's the role of you, the champion? And I would say, honestly, we're gonna go through a few of these things because it'll help you. Is you got to define the role. You really have to define the role, your purpose. You got to write it down. What is that? What am I doing? Why? Go through that exercise, because if you don't go through the exercise, it'll never come to fruition. You'll just every day do the same thing and it'll die out. Wellness for us in the world of Borzolo Insurance is an ebb and flow. We have companies that come in and are like gung-ho, through the roof. And they go, and all of a sudden, management, changes, or someone who's passionate leaves, and boom, it'll die. And so we're always up and down, moving around, trying to keep things moving. You've got to find what your role is within that wellness champion role and really try to help keep it moving forward. For you, building awareness and skills, no brainer. I mentioned a few, Wellbeing Think Tank, Worksite Wellness, Council of Mass, and the Wellness Alliance. Bam, they have great tools in there that can help you educate yourself. Obviously, we're here to help it too. If you need more, we can sit down and have a bigger conversation. Engage and collaborate. You gotta network. You gotta get people to engage. So I also, I volunteer on a lot of these different committees, and I understand it. It's the work of the heart, really. And you've got to have conversations and continue to have conversations. I do it all the time with the 501c3s I'm involved in. It's just me on the back end having a conversation. Like, hey, how you doing? Where are some things I can help with? If I can't help because I don't have the time, just give me some, I'll give them a rah-rah to kind of get them to kind of move forward, because everyone's busy and everyone has a lot going on. But if this is the role you're going to move into, then this is something you kind of have to be that back end cheerleader. Activate and implement. This is really knowing once you've built the plan, and that's something that Borzolo can kind of help you with. It's finding these things you can activate. Simple campaigns. We do it all the time, Borzolo. We'll do a 6-week campaign, heart health. I'll just use that as an example. Excuse me. You can do heart health every week and simply just put out an email on Fridays that has something on heart health. Now, that's very simple, and a lot of people will probably delete it because we get way too much email. But there are other ways to attack it. You can attack it by sending individual stuff to individual people. You can, if you're on site, you can put it into bathrooms. You can put it onto onto poster boards. There's a lot of different ways to attack it. it's just a matter of trying to find the right way. You know, for our schools, a lot of times we'll go to staff meetings and we'll have the conversation at staff meetings because everyone's there. Health fairs, no brainer. You can easily do it then. Unfortunately, for health fairs, it's a one-time, one-stop shop versus doing it over a long term, because the idea is you really want to have something that you can implement that is a long-term impact, because ideally you're trying to do the last one, which is get to a place where you can evaluate and evolve over time. And as you evolve, it's about being strategic. It's about absenteeism, decreasing absenteeism. It's about increasing employee productivity. And also it's about having fun, and it's about building a culture around those things. And again, it doesn't happen overnight. And I think that's why a lot of people fall off the train of wellness champions, because it's a journey that isn't overnight. And a lot of people get frustrated because it's not something you just all of a sudden solve. It's that puzzle building. You put it on a table and it stays there on the table for months and months and months. And finally someone puts in that last piece and it's like, finally got it. Big on puzzles. Everybody's like, why puzzles? Workbook discovery, putting things into action. So if you don't have your workbook, please gravitate to it, or grab a piece of paper. It doesn't matter to me. And then, we'll go through the questions. I'm going to give you each a few minutes, really, light minutes to write down some answers. This is for you. We're not going to share. You can, it's for you to kind of take that noodle in your mind and play with it a little bit, and then boom, put it on paper so that you have some starting points, because really it's really about finding a starting point. That's the only way I can describe it. All right. So first off, let's take a minute or so, just yourself, and I'll time us so we don't go too far here, because I know we have about 15 minutes left. First one, why do I want to be a wellness champion? Ooh, big question. So go ahead and just write some things down. Think about it. I'll be silent for about a minute and we'll come back. This is when we need that music. You all know it, Jeopardy. Do. Okay, you got about 10, 20 seconds. All right. All right. So let's move on to the next one. It's funny, I had I had the workbook out in front of me, but as I'm aging, those on the call that are my age, I didn't want to have to put my glasses on. So we're gonna improvise here. Next one. So, why do you want to be a wellness champion? For me, I'll tell you, it's passion. I've always been passionate about wellness, so that's why I do it. All right, number two, how well do I understand the current culture of health and well-being in my organization? What are the gaps you see? If you say, I have no idea, well, where are your strengths, where are your gaps? Write some down. Take another minute. Okay, another 20 seconds. Okay, while you're finishing up, I'll put an answer out there. So current culture, health and well-being in the organization, I would say ours is really strong. I would say we fall down with social connection because we all work from home, or most of us do. So it's a really tough one for us, but we're working on it. We have some great strengths. We have great people. All right, number three, What skills or knowledge do I need to be effective in this role? Go. Okay, a few more seconds. Awesome. So I will just put it out there. You don't need to be a PhD or have a degree in wellness to be good at it. The sites I mentioned, the Wellness Council in Massachusetts, Wellness Alliance, Borzo Insurance, we have newsletters and stuff that we can help you with, and also the Wellbeing Think Tank. They're well-rounded sites for you and well-rounded organizations that can help you. And they're all besides Borzo, they're all 501c3s. How comfortable am I leading by example? Ooh, go ahead. Moderation, right? I was talking to myself on that one. All right, 5 more seconds. Okay, leading by example. It's a great one. It's not something that you have to do every day, but it's something you really have to be the cheerleader for, which we talked about. It's hard. Not every day. It's hard. So just put yourself on a path and find that momentum forward. Number 5, who are my allies and stakeholders in this journey? This is a good one, and I'll put mine right out there now so you know. I am on leadership all the time about giving us funding, about doing programs. I'm always talking to folks in leadership in Borzo Insurance. They are they are huge. You need to get leadership involved. Go ahead. Okay, last couple. Number 6, how will I handle resistance or lack of engagement? Because you will get it. I'll put mine right out there. You have to realize that everyone's in different places. Well-being is a holistic person. Not everyone's whole. They don't want it. So you will get people that won't do it. But how are you going to handle it? Go. All right, last one. This one, I'll just let you go on your own on this one, just so you can kind of really think through it. This is the most important one because you have to have a plan, and then you have to have what does success look like? At the end of the day, at the end of a year, at the end of three years, what does success look like? Go ahead. And that's for you and the business. I should preface with that one. Okay. You can always come back to them. You can always reset, rethink, and then redo. It's one of the very necessaries. So every year, I work with the team. Michelle and I work with the team to come up with goals, what success looks like, what we want to do. It's always about strategizing and how to move things forward after we've looked at the data, surveys, whatever it may be. So this is a great thing to do to help you to kind of move things forward within your organization and yourself, to be honest with you. All right. Why do we believe workplace well-being is important? This was going to be kind of an opening up thing, but with timing, I'm going to keep that on hold. I think what you wrote down will tell you why it's important, and I'll give you the honest feedback. It's important for the mental well-being and the overall health and well-being of your employees. And you may not see it happening, and you may not see the results, or you may, but for a lot, for a lot of individuals, they just need a little bit of TLC, and that's what really the champion's there for, is to kind of help move things forward, move the needle a little bit within the culture. All right, lastly, I'm going to close up with just really from a tools and resource perspective. I'll put it on the table. Borslow Insurance, we offer all our clients. So if you're not on it, let us know. Put it in the chat, whatnot, because Michelle will kind of send stuff to you. We have we send out a newsletter every month, every 2 weeks. There's an in-between newsletter that's kind of like a quick hit tips that you can get on our constant contact feed. So you're welcome to it. Everyone's welcome to it. We also have plenty of initiatives and things that we do with clients, as well as one-pagers that we can work with you with if you need tools and resources. Now, outside of us, well, on the bigger side, it depends where you're at, right? If you're at a place where you're just doing the education, remember, education, engage, execute. A lot of people have already done education. If you're at engage and execute point, well, there's a whole different animal that we can help you with. And that, I've talked about it before, the Well 360, which really focuses on data analytics. It focuses on the culture, survey culture, also from an HR perspective. And then there's a whole different side of the house that if you're looking to bring something in-house, there's other organizations that we work with, strategic partners of ours that we work with, that we can kind of decide what the customization needs to be depending on what the need is for you. But there are opportunities, and if you don't want to go outside within our world, then again, I've already talked about a few of them: the councils, the Massachusetts Council, the Wellbeing Think Tank, and then Wellness Alliance. I keep touting them. CDC is a good one too. I keep touting those because they really have some great little nuggets, information, and resources for you, little classes, little webinars. That's where you start. Last one, I'm gonna let you do this on your own, because I thought this was a good way that we didn't have to kind of sit on the call and do it. I put this in last minute because I was like, well, I feel like you really have to have that opportunity to be able to put this down on paper after we're done talking here today, so you can figure out, well, what exists. Really, this isn't a timing thing. This is a sit down, what exists in my world that I'm in, for platforms, for systems, for health and well-being already for employees, for benefits. Put it all down. All right, and then you start to split it into a plan, and that big plan needs to be finding those wellness champions out in your ecosystem that are already there that can help you to kind of move some things forward and having the conversations, because it's all there. You have an EAP, you have FSAs, you name it, you've got it all. It's just a matter of figuring out what's best for the employees, and just to start the road, start that next level. And then just to review, this is really, I appreciate your time. Michelle and I appreciate you coming on with us and listening to me ramble. But these are the 4 bigs. Like, understand the 4 pillars, know what they are and how they affect your employees. And if that means, from workplace well-being, you need to start surveying and figuring out, having conversations. But no, workplace well-being doesn't have to be this big program. It could be something very simple. It can be just education, but some people want more. So they educate, they start to get to a place where they start building a bigger program, and it becomes a annual program that goes on and on. So people have platforms, and the platforms are, gamification, as they call. So there's a lot out there for you. It's just a matter of getting a starting point, and we can help you with that too. But know that you're the wellness champion. You're the cape. You own that cape. And that cape, when, it may not fit right sometimes, but if you, start to integrate yourself into the system and figure out talking to people and putting initiatives together, then finally that cape will fit you just the way it should have fit you at the beginning. And then lastly, tools and resources. Here are most of them. I didn't even mention the National Health Observances. That's a calendar that we have that we can offer as well. So congratulations. I should have fireworks here, but I don't. But congratulations. Thank you for being, a part of this. I hope it was helpful. I hope you got a little nugget of information that we could help you with. And again, if you have any questions beyond this and you really, want to dig in a little deeper, we're always here to help and answer any questions. But it's your time that we took, and I appreciate that. I know everyone has a lot of time that has very little time. So thank you very much and have a wonderful day. Stay warm. Stay warm. It's getting cold.
Have a good day, everyone.